Call the meeting to order. Opportunity is given to citizens to address the board on matters of general district business. 5 minutes per speaker, 20 per subject, unless by a majority vote the board extends the period of time. And also, at the request, you will be able to address specific items during the course of the meeting. Before we proceed, our president has an announcement.
We ask for your patience this afternoon and evening. Stacy Martinez, who generally runs the meeting for us, my executive assistant, her husband was in a head-on crash on Oakdale Road, and as we speak, remains pinned in his car. We do not know his condition. Her father, Trustee Hicks, has taken her to the scene of the accident so that she can be there with him. So we have asked for and received the very able assistance of secretaries from Administrative Services, Student Services, and the Office of Instruction, Kathy, Denise, and Tony. But please bear with us. We will work what we can work. What we can't work, we'll record on paper. But it's clearly going to take us more time than usual. And we thank you for your patience, and we solicit your concern and prayers for Gabe Martinez.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will hear from anyone who wishes to address the board before we go into closed session. And you all know the rule. You present your name and so forth, because everything is being recorded. Yes.
Good evening.
It's not working. There you go.
Good evening.
That's much better.
My name is Patrick Mitchell. I'm the president of the Merced College Faculty Association. I would like to read a statement that you all received in your email last night that you may or may not have gotten to, for the benefit of anybody who didn't read it, or and also for the benefit of those attending. This is from Professor Keith Law, who is my predecessor as MCFA president. And it says, "Dear board members, interim President Walsh, and MCFA President Mitchell, the faculty were invited by Patrick to attend tomorrow's meeting to share our views with you about various topics on the agenda. I will not be able to attend. I am thankful in advance for any consideration that you afford the following brief opinion. I am also grateful for the work you all put in on behalf of Merced College faculty. No matter what particular criticisms any one of us might have about the job of our current interim president, I feel confident that Susan Walsh has the best interests of Merced College at heart, as she also does for Merced generally. She has consistently been a strong ally in many of the battles that I have waged to help our students, most notably the seemingly never-ending battle to keep the library open during times when our students needed those services. That said, on a more general note, it seems to me that some of the initiatives currently being undertaken do not reflect the implications of an interim administration. By definition, an interim position is temporary, in an intervening period, and/or a fill-in. On the surface, it would seem reasonable to expect a person in an interim position to hold things together and keep the ship afloat while we await the arrival of the person hired for the permanent position. The person who holds an interim position should not be conducting major changes that may likely be overturned by the person hired to take over on a permanent basis, as this would be a waste of time and resources. I think this would include any reorganization or reclassification efforts, the drafting of mission statements and the like, or the branding effort. These may be good initiatives or bad ones, but that is all beside the point, as all of them could be overturned by a new permanent CEO. Therefore, it should be the new CEO's job to take the lead on these efforts. For an analogy, imagine a company like Nike Athletic Equipment going through a similar phase wherein an interim CEO is hired to fill the position while the board of directors conducts a proper search for a permanent CEO. It is hard to imagine that during this interim period, the temporary CEO would be expected to shake up the company by reorganizing or reclassifying employees, or to change Nike's mission or brand identity. Since all of these things may likely be changed or returned to the original, once the permanent CEO takes charge, it makes more sense to await their arrival. Title V regulations are the law of the land regarding the running of community colleges in California, and according to Title V, interim positions of any kind are intended only for periods when a district needs time to conduct a fair and full hiring process for a given permanent position. This is the case irrespective of the position. It could be a custodian, a temporary one-year faculty position, or an administrator. It makes sense to assume that interim employees should not be undertaking radical changes that are the role of properly hired permanent employees. Thank you for your patience, and this is signed Keith Law, Instructor of Philosophy and Humanities, past MCFA President and past CCA Board Member. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board?
We don't have a timer this evening, or what's going on here?
We're kind of watching it for time.
Well, I'd like to kind of know.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I'm Meg Withers. I teach English here. I'm also the Area 2 rep for MCFA. I am on the PAC committee, which is choosing to support people, endorse or not endorse people who are running for the 2 trustee positions, which are running opposed. I came up here a couple of months ago and said, I really wish we could all just get along, and waited for us to get along. It doesn't seem like we're getting along very well. So I have some things to say that aren't very pleasant, but oh well. Okay. If what I have to say was not affecting my students so much, and it affects them, I have at least 12.5 students in this room right now from my various classes. To such a degree that students are now asking questions about what's going on in class. This would be sort of like a comedy of errors, a farce by maybe Trollope or Austin or Wilde. But we have now run the sheriff out of town, as it were, over the shock of people not being able to get fingerprints taken on for something that was done that was completely legal. And in the process, put people on paid administrative leave, paid legal fees that are unbelievable, somewhere between $1 and $2 million in the last year alone, and asked people to come in and do consultancies, all of which money could have been spent on students and student services and the success that we say that we want our students to have. Let's see, what else do I have to say? In addition to this, the faculty have been referred to, this is particularly odious to me, as lazy by senior administration. We have this 4-day face-to-face thing, just no matter what people are doing. And so I thought it would be a good idea to give the group on the dais a little lesson on the tasks which faculty perform outside of regular class hours. First, there are the regular, office hours, which any faculty knows comes with the job. I spend about 40 hours a week correcting homework, posting grades, and prepping for my classes. I have it on authority from other faculty that this sounds about right for them. Add 2 faculty evaluations taking about 8 hours each to accomplish, 3 to 4 area meetings, 3 to 4 cohort meetings, curricular conversations with colleagues each week, and the number of tasks and hours rises further. If a person is on a committee or is a student club advisor, there is more time. There are SLOs to rework and of course the program reviews to be worked on. And let us not forget the number of hours spent filling out forms and committing to flex time, which used to be a trusted set of tasks. But because everybody knows that you're going to have to do stuff for clubs or for your students or you're not doing a really good job, we all used to do that and people trusted us to tell the truth about the time we were spending in flex hours. Now we have to try to figure out the correct boxes to check on a seemingly endless set of drop-down menus, then create the backup for these tasks because no one trusts instructors to tell the truth, then wait to be told that yes, we have succeeded in expending approximately 8 to 10 hours, proving we are not liars. Finally, there are the special projects of instructors who spend weeks and months planning and executing special programs for students and outreach into the community. I have not had a spring break. since I began working here in order to create a professional level literary review. We now have a film festival, which takes months of planning. We have dozens of other projects which I don't even know about because I haven't the time. We have the Puente Project, we have field trips involving weekends, we have a food forest, we have grants written and documents filled out so that we can give students the best possible education. And because there is no trust in this benighted place, we have instructors policing their own colleagues, which is against rules, by the way. Yes, there are always a handful of folks in any workplace anywhere who slack off on their responsibilities and perhaps sleep at their desks or fail to show up at all. However, most of our colleagues work the same long hours I do, but administration feels it necessary to make enemies of us all by punishing all for what only a few are guilty of. But who polices the president superintendent? A board majority, which does not seem to do more than call the question, vote 5-2 on every major decision for the college, and return to its serial mongering and meddling. A board which regularly disregards its own policies, which have been waved off as merely guidelines by the president of the board, the Brown Act, Title V, and Ed Code, all the while contravening both union contracts openly and on the advice of counsel, for which it pays an enormous sum of money each fiscal year. Meanwhile, the faculty and staff slog through the morass of rules and regulations seemingly concocted higgledy-piggledy and on a whim to satisfy those who obviously don't have enough to do. Thank you. And who have let us all know that decisions made by the president, superintendent, and most senior administrators are not open to discussion or to be argued with, and which are always given the thumbs up by the board before they return to their slumbers. November approaches and March 14th will be here all too soon. Thumbs down, folks, thumbs down. Thanks to the Brown Act, which has made this public reminder possible. I now will go teach a class.
Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Love you, Meg.
Well, I'd like to introduce myself as Paul Harvey so you can hear the rest of the story, but my name's Dan Smith and I'm a nursing instructor in Allied Health. Good evening, board members. I'm speaking to you tonight as a result of the numerous emails I've received as well as the conversations I've had with faculty in the last 24 hours. That being said, I would like to apologize to the board on behalf of the numerous faculty appalled and embarrassed by the continued lack of professionalism exhibited by our current MCFA leadership, a term I use lightly. In my 19 years at Merced College, I have never witnessed a leadership group that continues to disrespect its constituents and focus on its personal agenda more than its current leadership. The time and effort this current leadership has spent fanning the flames of discontent, fabricating conspiracy theories while promoting their personal agenda is frankly disturbing. Let me read you a quote from the latest email sent by the MCFA president informing faculty about the meeting and agenda tonight. I quote, "Item 9S on the agenda. An MOU with CSEA giving raises to intern President Walsh's former co-workers in the library, including her nephew. While I'm sure these raises are well-deserved, it's interesting to note how swiftly this MOU was negotiated while negotiations with MCFA remain at a standstill." End quote. The first question faculty was asking me is, why is our union questioning the success of another union, while also implying that their success is based upon a relationship with the intern president? The majority of Merced College faculty, the ones without a personal agenda, believe all employees of Merced College are co-workers and deserve the same respect across the board regardless of where or with whom they work. Maybe CSEA is a respectable and hardworking union that focuses on their constituents and therefore is able to successfully negotiate on their behalf, while the MCFA seems to push the agenda that successful negotiations are only based on who you know. Why else would you mention, and I quote, President Walsh's former co-workers, including her nephew? Anyone with common sense realizes the level of scrutiny and review that takes place with major items presented to the college. It's no wonder faculty is getting fed up with this misinformed and misguided MCFA leadership. They would like faculty to believe that the board, the president, and administration are all tainted and incapable of doing their jobs. I would like to remind the board that inflammatory innuendos and publicized conspiracy theories do not represent the majority of faculty at Merced College, and we are truly embarrassed by what is continually put forth under our banner.
Anyone else wishing to address the board? wishing